In this short demonstration, I'm going to talk about one of the coolest features of PACT, and that is the reviews feature. I touched on it when I was looking at the project level of our avionics passenger counter design, and I showed how the review status for all of the lower level items can roll up and be seen at that project, at that higher system/project level. But now we're going to actually go inside and look at how reviews are created and what they mean and the kinds of management that's part of the tool set. So in a moment we're going to click down in here and go inside this, this feature, but what I want to do first is give you an overview of the flow, because it's kind of important that you understand how all of this works. So let's talk about it, and I'll talk you through a visual, and then we'll look at the tool. So the first thing in this flow, and I mentioned this previously, is the administrator for your organization has to set up your organization's checklists. Now they get that from ACS, Airworthiness Certification Services. We provide generic checklists that have been developed by a DER and used on numerous projects. And so these checklists are used to drive the reviews. They can be customized should an organization wants to do that. Basically, they're very thorough, but if an organization wants to customize them, that can be done. So the administrator basically copies the generic version that we provide into the organization's checklist area, and then those will be used for all of the reviews. That's done before any project starts. Now, assuming you're in a project, the project manager will, or it might be somebody else, might be one of the engineers, it might be the configuration management manager. It just depends on who in your organization you'd like to do this, but let's say it's the project manager. They will create a review. It's time to review something, whether it's a step in the process that you're transitioning through, or whether it's a document that's been created and has to be reviewed by the team. So they set up a review, which I'll show how to do, and they basically pick what type of review it is. When you pick the type of review, the checklist automatically gets populated. They also select the evaluators, the reviewers who are going to be part of the review team, and those folks are notified. Now the tool, because it happens in the in the ether here, basically you can hold these reviews through a web conference. You can hold them interactively in the tool. Different people can go off on their own and do the reviews themselves, and then it can all be through email if you want. So the tool just provides the infrastructure to provide the information that needs to be reviewed, ask all the right questions, and capture everybody's response to that. So we will see that shortly. There's these checklists that are automatically populated, have a lot of questions depending on what item or process is being evaluated. And each item, in order for the whole review to pass, each item in the checklist has to pass. Now that rarely happens the first time through. You'll be very, very lucky if you pass a review the first time. So let's assume that not all checklist items pass. So then you go to this resolution flow, where basically action items are assigned, or the document has comments that need to be addressed. Those things need to be resolved. Someone needs to verify the fixes, and then the process is to go back into the checklist and change the status from fail to pass. So once all the checklist items pass, then yes, the review finally passes. And that can have some implications for documents, for example. After review passes, you most likely want to release that as a baseline approved document. So that's the basic process that I'm going to show here. So let's jump back into the tool. So I'm in our controller board, which is a hardware item that is part of the avionics passenger counter project or system. I'm going to click on reviews. So these are the reviews that are currently affiliated with this hardware item. So there's 3. Again, we're in our reviews list. Each object is a row. So there's 3 reviews. We have a review ID. We have a specific type of review, the title of the review, when it was set up, the description of the review, and then the status. This is really important. So it looks like of these 3 reviews, the only review that has currently passed is the PACT review. Okay, Then there's action items, if any action items are out there, and we'll take a look at some of those in a minute. And then there's your typical show. You can show more information about the review. You can edit a review, and that's what the evaluators are going to have to do their part. And if you are the person who has the authority, you can delete a review. So when a review gets set up, everybody who's part of the review team gets an email and that notifies them of this. So let's take a look at this email, for example. There's a review for this hardware item that's a transition to hardware planning review. I was invited as an evaluator. I get this email, so I click on this link. The link takes me directly into basically what would have, if I would have clicked on the show button for the third review in that list, this is the information that I would see. So let's look through this and see what kind of information we have for this review. This was mostly what we already saw: the title, the review type, who created the review, who the evaluators are, and then basically the project team identified. Let's see here. The item that this applies to is the controller board of this project. There's some action items, so we can actually click here to look at what the action items are. Let me do that quickly. Okay, so it says we have to have the full list of issue papers that apply to our project. Okay, so this, when we go back and look at the checklist items in a minute, you'll see what this applies to. Oops. Let's go back to our reviews here. So we were in this one. Let me just show you. When I click on the show button, that's the exact same information that I was just showing you a minute ago, where that link gets you there. So the checklist items, we'll take a look at what a checklist is just a minute as we scroll down on this page, but there's 16 items in this checklist, and there's 3 evaluators. So if you do the math here, that means that there's 48 items that basically need to be passing to consider the review passed. Right now, there's only one that's failing, so 47 are incomplete. The checklists themselves are a list of these questions, and it's kind of in this is sort of just the show view, but when you're an evaluator like I am, you're going to go in here and say edit. You're going to go here and say fill in checklist. So that's what they do. They say edit the review, and now they're filling in their part of the checklist. So now I'm in the basically evaluator mode. I'm on the hook. I'm an evaluator. I have to go through and ask every single one of these questions about the transition process of transitioning into the planning phase. Basically, is saying, do you have everything you need to do to start planning for this project? The first question: have certification requirements, including certification authority papers, issue papers, CRIs, CREs, been identified? And in this case, I've looked through all the information that I have, and I have to fail it because I have not seen a full list of issue papers. Maybe none apply, but maybe no one has done the work to figure that out. So this is where I'm putting this note. This was the action item that was created earlier. Now let's see what happens here. Okay, have commercial off-the-shelf COTS devices that are intended to be used. Have they been identified? Okay, well, in this case, we have decided not to use any COTS. So we're going to type NA here. And let's say I'm done for the day. I have to go run off to a meeting, so I want to finish up. I'm going to submit my changes. Uh-oh, what did I do wrong? It basically says that I have marked something as NA but haven't filled in the notes. Okay, so that's fair. So let's just say no COTS will be used. And let's submit our changes now. There we go. Now we've completed our review for the day. We've submitted our changes. Another thing that I wanted to show on this is that each reviewer has to basically sign that they did this. So this is one of those process assurance documents that you need to capture. So for this review, there's a sign-in sheet. It looks like I am the only one who has currently signed it. So Dave Newton and Paul Carrick have yet to click on their link in their email, go here and start editing. The first thing that they would be asked to do is sign. which I've already done. This signature is an electronic signature that's part of your user file. So when you just click sign, you basically get that electronic signature placed in here. Okay, let's go back to where we were with the reviews list. Got too many windows open here. Okay, so let's go back to the list of reviews. And let's take a look at what it might look like to actually create a review, because this is interesting. All right, so we're going to do a new review. I'm going to click on the button here. Let's assume I'm the project manager in this case. And let's say we've got our HVVP, the verification planning document is ready for review. Okay, so we're going to fill in our title, description, probably should be a little better than that. But now we're going to pick our review type. So we're reviewing a document. That is a peer review, so we're going to pick our peer review type. And if you remember, we've got, this is a hardware project. It's DAO-A, I believe. And so all of the appropriate checklists have been preloaded for this item. So when I select the appropriate item from the list here, this is going to populate my review with the pertinent checklists. Again, that ACS provided, that the admin has moved into the organizational area, and perhaps it's been tuned to be customized for your organization. So we click on this, and some other things we can do if there was some PRs that might be pertinent to the review that have to be evaluated, examined, that kind of thing. Those can be added. For the file under review, in this case I really am looking at a document, and it's a document that is ready for review, so it should be inside of PACT, which it is. So we're going to pick that. I'm going to pick a couple other people to be part of my review. So these are going to be my evaluators, and the date gets set, and it's obviously for the controller board hardware item. So I'm going to create this review. All right, let's go back to our reviews list. Oh, actually, it's showing it right now, so it just put me into the actual review itself. There are 5 items on this particular checklist, 3 evaluators, so 15 items. We could go here and look, and here are all of the questions that need to be asked. And again, if I was actually doing this for the first time, I'd click on the sign-in sheet. I would want to sign into the review. I add my name. I save the sign-in sheet. Oops, sorry. I go back to the review. Oops, this is just a copy of it that it provided me there. And there we have it. We can, as an evaluator, I can go in and say edit the review. I click on fill in the checklist. This means I'm now in evaluation mode. And let's say I've already looked at all of this stuff and all of these items passed. So I'm going to pass them all. And I submit my changes. Another thing that you can do, which is really interesting, and it's not quite as interesting here because I'm the only evaluator, but when you have multiple people who have signed, who are part of the evaluation, you can generate a consolidated checklist, which is basically a consolidation of everybody's status that they've captured. So in this case, you can see that only I have passed everything. Nobody has any notes or actions, or Tammy and Paul haven't done any, they basically haven't signed in and done any work on this. So that is the status. So now you can see this is our list of reviews. By the time you're done with your project, you'll probably have 30 reviews here. That's probably a typical number that you'll have in any given project by the time you're done reviewing all your documents and all of the key process transition points. So again, the tool helps you with all of this. It provides the infrastructure, the tracking. You can easily print off the consolidated checklists as process assurance documents. and project managers can see the status of all of these reviews at both the item level and the project level. So all of that is part of the PACT reviews feature.